Good morning. You're watching another episode of Inside Texoma. The sun is out in full force. That means many of us are outdoors enjoying these summer months. Reagan Neighbors at the American Cancer Society joins us now to talk about Summer Sun Safety 101. This is, well, Reagan, thanks for being here.
Yes, thanks for having me.
This is prime time for skin cancer, and it's scary to talk about, but something that is should be at the forefront for you guys during the summer months. Talk to us about skin cancer, what people need to know, and kind of the warning signs.
Okay. Well, skin cancer can affect anybody. A lot of people think it's not going to happen to me, I'm not old enough, things like that. But the first thing is check out your skin. It is yours and yours only, the biggest organ of your body, and the moles. That is the biggest indicator of a type of skin cancer. So, you know, we always say we have the A, B, C, Ds of melanoma. And so, you know, look at your asymmetry. Is it even? Is it not? Is it the color? You know, is it a weird brown? Is it a black? Maybe it's always been that color. Just knowing what those things look like. And go to a dermatologist, even if you're pretty sure it's nothing. They're the ones that can really look and see, oh, is that grown from the last time I saw you? You know, you may have a mole on your back you can't find. I have lots of moles that I get checked out just because, I mean, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's just because it's, you know, it could be 70 degrees out, the sun's going to hit you. And so just make sure that you are wearing that sunscreen, putting it on your kids. If you're in and out of the pool, put more on than you think you need. And make sure your kids are getting it, you know, everywhere, on your ears. Melanoma and any kind of skin cancer can get anywhere.
Yeah, and make sure you're putting that sunscreen on frequently too, especially like you said, if you are getting in and out of the pool.
You're sweating, you're running. You know, we have a lot of people that run marathons, 5Ks. Put that sunscreen on, even if you think it's just going to be a cloudy day. That's still, those UV rays are still going to hit you.
Is there an SPF that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, we say SPF 30.
Okay.
That's good. A lot of times the more, you know, oh, it's SPF, 50 or something.
Right.
30 is still going to basically be the exact same.
Okay. As far as skin cancer goes, does a family history play into it at all? I mean, if you have a family history, are you more susceptible to it?
Yes. Studies have shown that, yes, that you are more, not 100% going to get skin cancer just because your father did, but you are more likely to get it. So, make sure you do know your family history. I have, a spot on my nose that has been taken out because we weren't sure if it was skin cancer or not. Luckily it wasn't, but I would rather have this scar on my nose than, have it spread somewhere else and not be here today.
Yeah.
So,
For skin cancer, I mean, a lot of people, when they think the word cancer, they immediately think a death sentence, which obviously that is not the case. But let's talk about the severity of skin cancer and just how bad it can get, because it's not just a removal of a mole and that's it and you move on with your life.
Right.
This is something that it carries with you.
Yes, and it's 2016. We're halfway through the year, and we are predicting that over 79,000 cases of melanoma are going to hit us this year. And so we just want to make sure that people realize once you get checked out and they say, okay, it is melanoma, that you then go and you'll see a surgeon and they'll decide what's the best, regimen for you. They are going to, see where it is, and then they're going to obviously do the surgery, but then they may have to do other things to make sure that it hasn't spread. And the longer you wait, the more it can spread, because a lot of times it does start as skin cancer and go somewhere else and hit other parts of your body and organs. And, it could end up in your lungs, and then that's a whole nother battle to face as well, on top of that skin cancer.
Okay. And this is something that all ages need to be on the lookout for. I printed this out from the Mayo Clinic because it stood out to me. Melanoma rates are up across the board, especially women under the age of 40. And you're going to hear from a skin cancer survivor coming up. She was diagnosed at age 22. She's 23 now. Something that obviously I don't think anybody really thinks about in their 20s. They're out in the sun, they're having fun, and they're not putting on that protection on their skin.
Right. Well, and I know when my mom was growing up, they'd lay out by the pool and put some sun in their hair and baby oil on their skin. That is frying, waiting to happen. So we want to make sure that people realize you have to take those precautions. You know, wear a hat, wear light colored clothing. You know, put on those sunglasses. You know, your eyelids. You never know. You know, it could hit that as well. And so, put the lip balm on your lips. You know, with some sunscreen that's in the lip balm. Anything you can think of is going to be better than not doing anything at all.
Right, and tanning beds, big no-no.
Yeah, please do not go to the tanning bed. That is just direct on your skin. We don't, I mean, now we have laws and regulations, luckily, that, you know, parents do have to sign waivers for children that are 16,
right.
You know, things like that. But just don't go. I mean, we have great self-tanners on the shelves these days. Put the self-tanner on.
True.
Hey, white's in. I mean, you know, you don't have to be tan. You know,
pale is the new tan.
Yeah, pale is the new tan. Yeah. So I know with prom season and weddings, especially right now, wedding season. You know, if you want a little color, get that self-tanner on, and don't go to the tanning bed.
Yeah. And you guys have a website that if people have or want more information, have questions, they can go to, correct?
Yes, just go to cancer.org, search skin cancer prevention. What do I do if I have skin cancer? Our website has so many great resources, not only just for skin cancer, but for all of our cancers as well. So go to cancer.org, or if you have any questions, you can always call our 1-800 number for the American Cancer Society as well.
Okay, perfect. Reagan, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for talking about this very important topic, especially during the summer months. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And when we come back, we'll talk to that 23-year-old who was diagnosed with skin cancer just a year ago. We will hear her story next. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Jobeth Bryan joins us now. Jobeth is a skin cancer survivor. Jobeth, kind of tell us your story. You got diagnosed with this last year when you were 22, correct?
Yes.
How did you find out?
Well, I actually went to the dermatologist to see about your typical acne problems. And as I was leaving my house, my mother said, "Hey, why don't you have the doctor check out that mole on your back?" And I was like, "Okay, Mom." So I went to the doctor, and as he was leaving the room, I was like, "Hey, Doc, would you mind looking at this mole on my back?" I hadn't even mentioned it to him. And he looked at it, and he was like, "Oh my God, that looks like melanoma." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I scheduled a biopsy, and I went back a few weeks later, and he removed the mole. He called me the following week and said that it was melanoma. I remember being home by myself and having several missed calls on my cell phone. I was in the other room doing homework, and my phone was charging. When I saw my phone and saw that he had called so many times, I still didn't think of anything of it. And I remember just falling to my knees and crying, and I called my mom, and I was like, "Mom, it's melanoma," and I didn't even know what that meant. And so many people think that melanoma or skin cancer is like a second-rate cancer, but it's just as serious. It can kill people just like other cancers can kill people. So that's how I found out about it.
And you said you really didn't even know what it was when you heard about it because, you know, you were 22 at the time. And I feel like at that age, a lot of people, probably skin cancer is at the very back of their mind.
Absolutely. I remember before prom and stuff in high school, like I would go to the tanning booth or the tanning salon, whatever you want to call it, just to get a little color. But I will forever regret that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you tan a lot?
It wasn't like an everyday thing. I would go, you know, maybe twice a week, but it wasn't like a frequent thing for me. But I guess it can happen to anyone. And of course, the mole was on my back, and so it wasn't like it was always visible. Like I didn't have a lot of sun touching it or anything. It just kind of happened. So. And
the mole never bothered you? It was never something that you had concerns about before?
Not personally, because I couldn't see it.
Okay.
I do know that it was almost black, which some normal moles are black. Not black, but they're really dark brown.
Right.
But it was black, and I know that it had kind of enlarged. And so that's kind of what concerned my mother, and that's why she had me check it out.
Okay, and so now what did you do after he told you melanoma?
Well, he immediately set me up to meet with a surgeon. I went the following day to meet with a surgeon, and we talked about it a little bit. He told me kind of the depth of it. Again, I don't know. There's different layers of skin and different depths the skin cancer, and he said, you know, we need to get it out as soon as we can. So I went exactly a week later. They had to do a special ink injection on my back. I had to lay face down, and they had to do injections all the way around the incision where my biopsy was done to see which lymph nodes, if at all, the cancer was draining.
And painful.
Absolutely. That was probably more painful than the surgery itself, just because it was so raw, and it had just been done. So we did that, and then of course I had the surgery. It was about 5.5, 6 hours long. Again, they removed both of my sentinel lymph nodes under my armpits, and they removed a big chunk of my back. So I have a big incision back there too.
So much stuff for such a small, I mean, when you think about it, a small mole, and all of this stuff done to it. Did that surprise you when they said you have to do this, this, and this? I mean, it's not just cutting the mole out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of people, whenever I told, and I didn't tell very many people, I'm kind of a private person when it comes to stuff like that. But I, remember talking to my dad, and he said, well, they're probably just gonna, take a little part of it out. And when, when I came out of surgery, I remember my mom just sitting there praying, thanking God that I was out and I was okay, because they had no idea that it would take so long. And the surgeon came out thereafter and was like, it was a lot deeper than we thought it was. And he told me immediately, if you wouldn't have gotten it removed when you did, it would have spread to other parts of your body.
Wow.
So it was pretty serious, and I had never taken it serious. And even after the surgery, I have no feeling in my arm from here up because of nerve damage from them removing my lymph nodes. For about a month after my surgery, my arm was stuck. Like, my arm was stuck, and I had it was just disgusting.
Will you ever get feeling back?
I don't know. Even after a year, my scar is still tender. I haven't been able to touch it. I'm afraid to touch it because it's still so tender. I mean, my life will never, ever, ever, ever be the same. After probably 3 or 4 weeks after my surgery, I couldn't brush my hair, I couldn't put on makeup, couldn't, use my arms for anything, and it just took away every little piece of dignity that I had, because I'm a girl and I like to look pretty.
Right.
And so if I wanted to, get out of bed and just brush my hair, my mom would have to come in there and do it for me, and it's a lot more serious than people think it is.
Yeah,
so.
Completely life-changing. So what have you learned from this? I mean, what's the message that you want to get out to girls your age, or not necessarily even girls your age, to all women?
Definitely wear sunscreen. They say to even put sunscreen on if you're going to be wearing clothes, to just have it on. If you're driving in the car and your hands are showing and there's a mole on your hand, to wear sunscreen, because the sun can hit, the sun can reflect and hit in your vehicle. If you're thinking about going to a tanning booth, reconsider that, because it can happen to anyone. It doesn't discriminate. That's what I would say. Just wear your sunscreen and protect yourself. If you don't have to be out in the sun, don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have to be out sunbathing by the pool, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I think we all know these rules. It's just a matter of doing it, really. All right, well, Jobeth, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your story with us. And hopefully somebody watching, this is maybe as a wake-up call for them to start taking those steps more seriously. Thanks for being here. All right, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. We are continuing our summer safety coverage. This time we're turning to pools. More importantly, pool safety. News Channel 6 Samantha Forrester spoke with the experts. She has more on what they had to say.
It's the beginning of summer.
School bells rang for the last time this year. And kids are getting ready to make a splash for the next couple months.
We have lifeguards, about 20 on a stand at a time. We constantly are supervising the water, life jackets, U.S. Coast Guard approved life jackets, and supervision is really the only thing that will keep you safe.
We have ropes, between everything. We have someone on the stand there at the deep end, and someone on the stand at the shallow end, and then we've hired like 8 or 9 lifeguards.
The story is the same for pool maintenance businesses in Texoma.
It's always one of our busiest weekends, so everybody's getting ready to go.
Along with making sure you buy the right products, you also need to keep your pool water clean and clear. I spoke to experts at Outback Pools and Spas about how you can maintain proper chemical levels.
The main thing is you want your chlorine level to be, between 2 and 4. Of course, your pH is one of the main things, especially if it's a chlorine pool, because anytime your pH is 7, 8 or above, your chlorine's only about 10% as effective as what it normally should be. So we definitely want to keep an eye on the pH level.
pH scales and chlorine levels are crucial to get right, because if not, it could cause some unwanted irritation, among other problems.
If it's too low, of course, you have issues with algae, bacteria, stuff like that. Definitely not good.
Some good tips there from Samantha Forster. We're going to hear from Samantha a little bit later in the show about tire pressure during the summer months. Very important to keep in mind. When we return, we will be joined by the American Red Cross. After the break, stay tuned to Inside Texoma. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. When we talk about preparing for any month of the year, really, we immediately think of the American Red Cross. They're always here with some helpful tips. Katrina Farmer with the American Red Cross joins me now. Katrina, thanks for being here first and foremost.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay, so when we talk about the summer, we immediately think heat, and heat-related illnesses come along with that. What should people know about heat-related illnesses?
Well, the first thing we need to know is how to prevent them. So you need to stay hydrated. Make sure you take lots of breaks, especially it's really, really hot right now. Take a break every 30 minutes. Sit down under a tree and rest. Make sure you stay hydrated. Wear loose, lightweight, light-colored clothing so you're not absorbing the heat. And just take it easy out there. But we also have to think about some other things. Never leave your pet in the car. Make sure if you're traveling with a pet, make sure you have water for your pets. Make sure you have a supply of stuff for you in the car. If you find yourself on the side of the road, you might need an umbrella to stay in the shade, water for you to drink, maybe lawn chairs so you can sit on the side of the road instead of standing up, or a blanket to just sit down on the side of the road rather than standing up if you're getting overheated. Just stay cool, but be prepared. You might want to put a little sunscreen in your car and some bug spray so that you're ready for those incidents as well.
Yeah, and I know during the winter months, we always talk about a winter preparedness kit in your car. That same thing goes for the summer. You always have to have a kit in your car, but just kind of change those items out.
Yeah, now you're going to want more water than anything else. You're not worried about starving to death so much, being stuck in a snowstorm. But you could be stuck on the side of the road for a little while you had to wait for a tow truck or somebody to come and help you. So water is the big thing. Make sure you have something to drink.
Okay, and speaking of cars, Samantha Forster has tips on how to protect the tire pressure in your car. Very important during the summer months. Let's check in with Samantha.
Every other month I drive up to Missouri. I'm up there I just make a day trip to take my son up to see his dad in Illinois.
With summer finally here, many of you will be hitting the roadways to your vacation paradise.
Right now we have a tentative plan. We're trying to get tickets to go to the Hall of Fame in Cincinnati.
But are your tires as ready for the trip as you are?
There's a lot of different things that people can do to help make sure that they're driving safely on their tires.
One thing you want to do is visually check your tires. You want to look for any odd tread wear or obvious signs of damage. You also want to take a look at what you're loading into your vehicle.
A lot of time people, they load up their vehicles with camping gear or boating gear for the holiday season, and you just want to make sure that you've checked your vehicle and your tires weight rating and that you haven't exceeded that.
I always make sure that I check my tires, that the pressure's all good and that they're not all bald and falling apart. And I check all the fluids in my car to make sure that all that is good.
Another tip, make sure you're rotating your tires every 5,000 to 7,000 miles.
Make sure that we have the necessary safety gear, like jumper cables, a gas can, automatic tire inflation, something we can plug into the cigarette lighter, and all the little things like that.
And make sure your tire pressure is correct.
The tire pressure varies by the vehicle. You can always find the appropriate tire pressure in the vehicle door jamb on the driver's side of the vehicle. A lot of vehicles have it in the meter display as well.
The number one rule, make sure you're paying attention.
Just be aware and make sure that you've taken the correct steps in order to help make your travel as safe as possible.
Samantha Forster, News Channel 6.
Some good tips there from Samantha Forrester. Katrina, do you find that during the summer months, us as Texans usually think, oh, it's the summer, we got it, we're used to it, and then that heat seems to creep up on people?
Absolutely, and this year in particular, you know, we had a really cool spring. Weather kind of snuck up on us, and now all of a sudden we're in the hundreds again. So yeah, you need to think about what you're doing. Some of the things you need to think about when your children are outside playing, concrete can get really, really hot. Make sure your kids have shoes on. Go out and touch the playground equipment before you let your kids play on it. And if you're going to play in a hose, make sure you let it run until the water is cool before you play in it, so you don't get scalded by the hot water.
Something else to think about, playground equipment can get very hot during the summer months, especially the metal, it's kind of old school, but the metal playground equipment, even the plastic ones can get really hot during the summer months.
Yeah, I read an article just yesterday that said that children, because their skin is thinner than adults, and they're more susceptible to burn, they can actually be scalded by hot playground equipment when it's only 74 degrees outside.
Wow.
So you can imagine when it's 100 degrees how hot that playground equipment is. So wait to go to the playground until either go first thing in the morning or go late in the evening.
Yeah,
you know?
And speaking of being outside, for people maybe working outside during the summer, doing yard stuff out during the summer, would you recommend them going in the morning and in the evening?
Yes, absolutely, and more so in the morning. It's cooler in the morning, you know. Go to work at 5 in the morning and get off at noon rather than going in at 8 or 9 and working through the afternoon. The evenings can still be pretty hot, and those of us that work and have to go home and do your yard work, wait till Saturday. Do it on Saturday morning. Don't try to do it after work. It can be excessively hot in the evening, and you're already tired and worn out. But just prepare ahead of time. Make sure you drink lots of fluids. Stay hydrated ahead of time, and you shouldn't have a lot of problems.
Yeah, wait till the weekend to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit earlier about heat-related illnesses. We talked about how to prevent it, but what are some of the warning signs of heat-related illness?
Well, the first thing you'll get is heat cramps, and so your legs may hurt, your body may hurt. That's a sign. That's a sign. Your electrolytes are lowering, your fluid levels are lowering, your temperature is rising. So you need to get into a cool place. You can rub your legs, massage, and drink water a little bit at a time. You know, just every 15 minutes, drink a few ounces of water to start to rehydrate yourself. If you guzzle water, it may make you throw up. So you don't want to do that. Then, as it gets a little bit more severe, your temperature's going to rise. You're going to be excessively sweating. You're going to feel exhausted and really, really tired. Then you need to take a little bit more precautions. You might need to spray that person down with a hose, loosen any tight-fitting clothing. Again, offer water. Now, say the person doesn't accept water or they become unconscious. You need to call 911 immediately because they've moved into the end stages of heat-related illnesses, and it can be life-threatening. So you need to be prepared. You can actually take that person that's unconscious and put them in water all the way up to their neck level to cool them off immediately. You've got to get their temperature down fast.
Okay, and this is extremely important for teenagers, athletes out there who are going to be maybe practicing football during the summer months outside. And a lot of times athletes are kind of taught to just power through it and to not speak
You need to know those signs, and you need to be aware of them. You know, nobody wants to die learning to play a game, you know, or even, you know, just doing yard work. Just be aware of those symptoms. If you're sweating profusely, you've already moved into the second stage. So, and then if that sweating stops, then your body's shutting down already. So you need to be aware of the symptoms and take precautions. When you start to feel overheated, move into a shaded area, get something to drink, take it easy, rest, relax, calm down, you know, cool off, and don't power through. That's a wrong thing to do. And
we hear all the time about drinking 7 to 8 glasses of water a day. Would you recommend upping that during the summer months?
Yeah, I think, you know, you can drink more. You don't want to overdo it. You can also you know, drink too much fluids. We see that sometimes during the hotter than 100 that people have overhydrated. So you don't want to do that. You also don't want to replace Gatorade with your water. For every Gatorade you drink, you need to drink 2 bottles of water to kind of